Okay, so Chapter 6, Lesson 5 is property, algebra properties. So here, first, in the warm-up, we want to determine if the two expressions in each pair are equivalent. So we have 5 plus 0 and 5. Are they equivalent? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Okay? So here, how about 12 times 2 and 2 times 12? Yes, they both equal 24. Very good. How about 16 minus 3 and 3 minus 16? No, those are not equivalent. Very good. And then how about 3 plus the quantity 1 plus 9 and the quantity 3 plus 1 plus 9? Yes, those are equivalent. Both of them equal 13. Very good. So today we're going to use properties to compare expressions. Please make sure that you write down your heading. Okay? And we are going to write down all of these properties. Okay? So the first property is the commutative property. The commutative property says that the order in which two numbers are added or multiplied does not change their sum or product. Okay? And I would like for you to make sure that you get the general form, at least the general form, written into your notes. So, this says that the order in which you add or multiply doesn't matter. So 2 plus 3 is the same thing as 3 plus 2. Or 5 times 8 is the same thing as 8 times 5. You will get the same answer. The associative property says the way in which three numbers are grouped when they are added or multiplied does not change their sum or product. So that means that we can add or multiply in any order that we want. Okay? So the way in which three numbers are grouped when they are added or multiplied does not change their sum or product. Okay? So here, in the general form, here you can see that the parentheses move from the second two numbers to the first two numbers. So in the first part, we're adding B and C first, and then adding A. Okay? And on the other side of the equal sign, we're adding A and B first, and then adding C. Okay? So here, it does not matter what order you add, you're going to get the same thing. Same thing with multiplication, how the parentheses will move from the second pair to the first pair. And finally, we have the identity properties. The identity properties say that the sum of an addend and 0 is that same addend. The product of a factor and 1 is that same factor. So for addition, if you add 0 to any number, you get that same number. For multiplication, if you multiply any number times 1, you get that same number. And don't forget that I want you to make sure you write in your general forms into your spiral notebooks. So, properties are statements that are true for any number. Make sure you write that down. Properties are statements that are true for any number. Now, the expressions 6 times 10 and 10 times 6, those are called equivalent expressions. And they are called equivalent expressions because they have the same value. So equivalent expressions have the same value. And that 6 times 10 and 10 times 6, that illustrates the commutative property. So for example 1, it says determine whether the two expressions are equivalent. If so, tell what property is applied. If not, explain why. So here we have 15 plus the quantity of 5 plus 8 and the quantity of 15 plus 5 plus 8. Okay? So, oh, by the way, you guys, when I say the quantity of, you heard me say it, right? The quantity of means that the next thing I'm saying is going to be in the parentheses. So here, this is 15 plus the quantity of 5 plus 8. Got it? And then this one is the quantity of 15 plus 5 plus 8. Okay? So, when we add these together, let's see. The order of operations tells me we're going to do the parentheses first, the grouping symbols. So, 5 plus 8 is, plus 15 is, so that one is 28. And then on the other side, order of operations says we do the parentheses first, so that's 15 plus 5, which is 20, plus 8 is 28. So you get the same thing. Is everybody clear with that? Yes. So here, they are equivalent, and the reason they end up equivalent is because of the associative property of addition. So here, the order, first we added the second two numbers, and then we added the first two numbers. We still end up with the same sum. You got that? So they are equivalent because of the associative property of addition. Now, when you are saying the associative property or the commutative property or the identity property, there are two of each of them. So when you are naming your properties, I want you to make sure that you are specific. So here, this one is adding. So this is the associative property of addition. You have to put that of addition on the end of your answer. Is everybody clear? If it was multiplication, then we would say of multiplication. You got it? All right. So for example 2, we have 20 minus 12, quantity of 20 minus 12 minus 3, and 20 minus the quantity of 12 minus 3. So when we do this, 20 minus 12 is 8, minus 3 is 5. Now on this one, we have 12 minus 3 is 9, and then we have 20 minus 9, which is, so are they the same? No, they're not the same. They are different. So they are not equivalent. Now, the reason they are not equivalent is because the associative property is not true for subtraction. It does not hold for subtraction. Okay? So, here, you guys, this is a new sign for you. We say that means they are not equal. Okay? So, example 3 says, determine whether the two expressions are equivalent, and if so, tell which property is applied. If not, explain why. So here we have 34 plus 0 and 34. If I add 34 plus 0, what are we going to get? 34. So we get the identical number, so that's the identity property of addition, because this is addition, right? So this is the identity property of addition. Got it? That's all there is to it. Here, what about this one? 20 divided by 5 and 5 divided by 20. No, they're not equivalent, right? So 20 divided by 5 is 4, right? And 5 divided by 20 is 1/4. You see, they're not the same. They're not equivalent. So here, these expressions are not equivalent because, and here's the explanation, because the commutative property does not hold for division. Okay? Is everybody clear with that? So here, let's do these problems together. Okay? So here we want to determine whether the two expressions are equivalent. If so, tell what property is applied. If not, explain why. Okay? So, first thing we want to do, we want to see if they are equivalent. Okay, so we've got 5 times the quantity 6 times 3, and we have the quantity 5 times 6 times 3. Okay, so you can see here 90 is equal to 90. Okay, so those are equal. Okay, what property were we able to use here? The associative property of multiplication. Very good. And that's what I want you to write as your answer. So that is the associative property of multiplication. And you can abbreviate you can put mult over there if you want to. Alright, so how about 27 divided by 3 and 3 divided by 27? They are not equivalent, right? Because 27 divided by 3 is 9. And 3 divided by 27 is 9. Right? So those are not equivalent. See how we write that? Those are not equivalent. And what's my reasoning?
Because one's a whole and one's a factor.
Well, we're flipping them around, right? We're flipping them around. What property would that be? The commutative property, because there's 2 of them, right? So here we're going to write the commutative property. The commutative property.
What's the abbreviation for commutative?
I'll put COMM. Commutative property does not hold for division. That's what we're going to say. The commutative property does not hold for division. Alright, so now we are going to use properties to solve problems. Make sure you write your heading. Okay? And you don't have to write that sentence there. Properties can also be used to write equivalent expressions and to solve problems. So here, for example 5, it says, in a recent season, the Kansas Jayhawks had 15 guards, 4 forwards, and 3 centers on their roster. Write 2 equivalent expressions using the associative property that can be used to find the total number of players on their roster. So here, the numbers that we're adding are the 15 guards, the 4 forwards, and the 3 centers. And you can add them in any order you want. So, in the first part of the associative property, we are adding the second 2 numbers first. Okay, because the parentheses force that. Okay, so here we're adding 15 plus 9. Right, I'm sorry, 15 plus 7.
Yeah.
Okay, and then in the second one, part of the associative property, we're adding 15 plus 4 first. Is everybody clear? Do we get the same answer?
Yes.
22. Good. Very good. Alright, let's take a look at this one. So, Brandy earned $7 babysitting and $12 cleaning out the garage. Write 2 equivalent expressions using the commutative property, which can be used to find the total amount that she earned. So, which commutative property are we using here? The addition or the multiplication?
Addition.
We're using the addition, right? Because we're looking for the total, right? So here, we are adding the $7 for babysitting and the $12 for cleaning out the garage. So, all we're doing is we're writing the 2 equivalent expressions. So, $7 plus $12. That is equivalent to $12 plus $7. Alright, so for the next example, it says the area of a triangle can be found using the expression 1/2 times b times h, where b is the base and h is the height. We want to find the area of the triangle shown at the left. Well, it's over on the right now. So here, we have, when we substitute in, we have 1/2 times the base, which is 15, times the height, which is 12. Everybody see that? So now, when we are using the properties, isn't it easier for me to multiply 1/2 times 12, or take half of 12 than it is to take half of 15?
Yes.
Yeah. So here, I'm just going to flip that 15 and 12 around. What property tells me that I can flip those two numbers around? Two numbers.
Commutative.
The commutative property of, this is multiplication.
Multiplication.
So, the reason I can flip those two is the commutative property of multiplication. Is that clear? So now I can just multiply. Now I can just do the work. So 1/2 of 12 is 6 times 15, that gives me 90. So the area of this triangle under the slide is 90 square feet. So this is the one you're going to write down. We can just write down the important information. So Vicki earned $6 while working 11 hours over the weekend. She put 1/3 of what she earned in her savings account. How much did she put in her savings account? Okay. So, the important thing here is we want to know how much is 1/3 of what she earned, because that's what she put in the savings account, right? So, here, let's just write down 1/3 of what she earned. Okay? Now, to find out, or to figure out how much she earned, we can multiply the 11 times the 6, right? So here, we're going to write, for what she earned, we're going to write 11 times 6. You with me? What does of mean in math? Multiply, right? Of means multiply. So what are we multiplying? Times? 1/3. So here, we're multiplying 1/3 times 11 times 6. Now, what is it that is easier for me to multiply times 1/3 or divide by 3? 11 or 6? It's easier for me to divide 6 by 3, right? So here, I want this 11 and this 6 to flip places, right? What property allows me to do that? The commutative property of multiplication. Very good. So this will end up being 1/3 times 6 times 11. That is the commutative property of multiplication. Is everyone with me? And now all you have to do is simplify. So 1/3 of 6 is 2. And then 2 times 11 is $22.